Thank you. Friends of Mount Vernon, good morning. I was going to go through that same litany of acknowledgments. I also want to acknowledge Governor McDonnell as well, but that would take up too much of my 4 minutes. But let me say, as we were gathering, I understand while Washington thought long and hard about a place for his papers, it has truly been a long time in coming. But my understanding is that the actual vision, fundraising, construction, and completion of this library took place in just 4 years. So I want to add my special thanks as well to Fred Smith, the Reynolds Foundation, the Mars family, and the wonderful, wonderful ladies of Mount Vernon. Congratulations. You know, at the tender age of 16, George Washington is said to have produced a famous guide. It was called The Rules of Civility and Decent Behavior in Company and Conversation. Now, several of young Washington's rules are extremely lofty, such as this one. Quote, labor to keep alive in your breast that little spark of celestial fire called conscience. But as you might imagine, a teenager of 16, and I say this is the father of 3 daughters about that age, needed near the end of his 110 list of do's and don'ts, his civility became a little less poetic and a lot more prosaic. For instance, he wrote, cleanse not your teeth with a tablecloth, napkin, fork, or knife. Still good advice. Now, it is certainly possible that young George Washington's rules of civility were little more than an exercise in penmanship assigned by his teacher. But regardless, today I will choose to follow Washington's rule number 35. Let your discourse with men of business be short yet comprehensive. You know, so much of our history is tied up in the legacy of George Washington. He placed his face on the quarter, the dollar bill. His name's attached to countless streets and towns, great universities. And while his bust adorns countless pedestals, I might suggest that we, particularly those of us who serve in my line of business, might have forgotten some of the lessons that he can still teach us who live and work in the capital just 14 miles away. In December of 1778, then General Washington traveled from his Army's camp in White Plains, New York, to visit the city of New York, or city of Philadelphia. Washington, when he got to Philadelphia, was apparently amazed, if not frankly angered, by the relative comfort and luxury afforded by the citizens of Philadelphia, while his ragtag army was in much, much more distress. Washington was also unhappy about what he saw as the petty conflicts which were preoccupying Congress. So again, he wrote in a letter to a friend, a letter I'm sure that will be here in this great library, quote, party disputes and personal quarrels are the great business of the day, whilst the momentous concerns of an empire, a great and accumulated debt, ruined finances, depreciated money, and want of credit are but secondary considerations which are postponed from day to day and week to week. 235 years ago. 235 years ago, those words could not be more true today. And I promise not to give you the whole lecture on our $17 trillion debt that goes up by $4 billion a day. But rest assured that too often we do continue to postpone day to day and week to week some of the common sense solutions that could put this issue behind us. And unfortunately, Tim Kaine and I will not be able to stay for the whole ceremony because we have to go vote on some of these matters a little bit later today. Now, to be sure, any historian will tell you that George Washington was a fiscal conservative. He urged us to spend and borrow sparingly rather than placing a burden on future generations. But he also did not despise taxation. He called it unpleasant but vital. Trying to get those balances right is just one example of the kind of leadership that Washington provided for our nation at its outset, and what scholars, students, and hopefully those of us who serve in public service will have a chance to come to this library and learn from. And whether it is about our finances, whether it's about leadership, whether it is about, as has been already mentioned, the willingness to give up power, then is now Washington's reminder of our shared commitments to the principles and institutions of free government are one of his greatest legacies. That is the example and the honor that the legacy that we honor today. And again, one that I'll try to take back to the Capitol later today. So again, to the ladies, to the donors, to the friends, to all who made this vision and this dream of Washington finally become a reality, congratulations. And for all of you who've come from all over our great country, welcome to the Commonwealth of Virginia. Thank you so much.